DynamX. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a terrific day. I wanted to ask a question this morning and give you an answer to the question, do you make a profit when you borrow against your sacred account? Okay, do you make a profitable spread? Now, what do I mean by that? With your sacred account, it is one of the only investment vehicles that when you put money in it, it's going to earn a dividend. You're allowed to borrow against that money. And while you use your money still gets the dividend credited in the account. One of the only accounts that does that. It's a fantastic combination. Now, one of the things that people hear all the time is when you borrow, you could potentially make a 1 or 2% profit spread on the dividend to loan ratio. And I want to discuss that today. So the question is, if you're earning a 5 or 6% dividend and you're borrowing at 5%, are you making a positive 1% spread when you borrow? Okay. Now, is it possible? Yes, it is. You can do that. That is very possible. We structure policies to do that all the time. Now, is it innate to the policy? No, you actually have to design it that way. And that's one of the important pieces. You want to make sure you're working with someone that really knows what they're doing. So here's the deal. If you have a desire to be able to borrow and make a profitable spread off of your dividends, then you're going to set your policy up to where it has about 60 to 70% liquidity on your contributions. Meaning if you put in $100,000, you would have $60,000 to $70,000 you could pull out. Okay. Now, the reciprocal of that number, which would be the $30,000 to $40,000 that you cannot pull out, goes into the base premium, which buys a death benefit, which is a dividend-producing equity share in the insurance company. Okay, so if you're tracking so far, you now own shares. Now, logic says the more shares you own, the more dividends you're going to earn. The less shares you own, the less dividends you're going to earn, right? And so if you set up a policy where you've got 60 to 70% liquidity, you own enough shares where it's producing enough in dividends that it's going to pay you more than it costs to borrow against the policy. Okay? So I hope we're tracking on that so far. So you're able to then take your entire cash value out of the policy, use that to go do whatever you want to do, and your dividend will still pay more than your interest is to borrow. Phenomenal way to set up a policy. Now the trade-off though is you have lower liquidity. We tell our clients you can set up a policy depending on contributions and funding. You can set up a policy to have anywhere from 70 to 95% liquidity. Meaning, if you were to really try and max it out, let's say you put in $100,000, you could have $95,000 available in your cash value immediately. But again, logic says if you've got more money in the cash value, that means less money went to go buy base shares, which means you have less dividends. So you're not going to have the same yield or the same dollar amount in dividends. So if you've got a high early cash value policy that does have a 95% liquidity on it, you're probably going to have a negative loan spread for a couple of years, right? Meaning you might only earn, a 3 or 4% dividend, and it might cost you 5% to borrow. So you want to really plan that out. I think a lot of people, when they hear about the sacred account, they're like, man, this sounds awesome. But there's a lot of marketing out there too. You go to, Pamela Yellen, she's got stuff. Garrett Gunderson's got stuff. Nelson Nash has got stuff. And not all of them are very forthright about how much of that dividend you actually get. So we always tell people it's an annual gross dividend. For example, if the dividend is 6%, yes, that's a 6% dividend, but it's an annual gross dividend. Depending on how much you put towards base premiums and how much you put towards your cash value, you may or may not net an actual 6%. There's a good chance you could if you set it up that way, and also if you don't set it up that way, it's probably not going to happen. So you want to be very aware of that as you're setting up a sacred account. If you're going for a long-term growth strategy and you want to have that positive loan arbitrage, that's something we're going to find out for you during a fact-finding call. We're going to design your policy and your sacred account to do that, and you're going to be able to enjoy the benefits of that. Now, if you come to me and you say, hey, I'm trying to do a real estate deal in 2 months and I need a maximum amount of cash value available, that's a little bit of a different story, right? So we're not going to have a positive loan spread. We're going to be looking for how do we get the highest amount of cash value possible. And long term, this is going to be a better place for you than the bank. But short term, you're going to have a lot of cash available. You're going to have probably a smaller dividend and potentially a negative loan spread. So guys, I wanted to share that with you today just to provide some clarity. If you are watching this really quick, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and post a link in the comments for you. So I created a landing page My team and I put this together, called sacredaccountant.com. And if you want to learn more about the Sacred Account, I want you to go to the page. It's sacredaccountant.com, completely free. Go to that page and you can actually look at pretty much everything you would need to know about setting up a Sacred Account. Okay, how do you put it together? What are your cash values going to look like? We've got actual examples of policies. So you can go to the vault and you can actually see real policies. What does it actually look like for somebody who's done a policy like this in real life? So guys, that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check out that link. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to y'all soon.